You guys heard of this trend on Facebook of women starting these groups called Are We Dating the Same Guy? Where they post photos of men and ask like, hey, is this guy violent? Is this guy a cheater? Has anybody matched with him? And the original purpose sounds noble. It's about women's safety. But the reality is that it's just gossip and bullying. Like they're doxing these men and saying awful, hateful things about men that they've never even met. Like very quickly, women's worst instincts just took over.
The rest are insane. Wild speculation. A ton of commenters deciding that he must be a serial cheater based on his appearance. A few comments saying that he's probably gay. Or many of the comments were just gleefully critiquing his appearance. Everything about him was heavily scrutinized and mocked, from his facial features to his fashion sense to his beard and everything in between.
Now, I think that a lot of these groups ended up getting banned because there were like lawsuits for defamation, because there's no way to verify if any of this stuff that's being said about these guys is true. So you've got like single men who are told that they're married, that they're cheating, like women just making up outrageous stuff and doing heaps of damage to these guys' lives, to their reputations. But while those specific groups might have faded, this idea of women rating men and gossiping about them, that lives on in a new evolution called the T app.
This app is officially #1 on the App Store, on the entire App Store. And this app, called The T, is a women's only app where you can upload photos and information and screenshots of men that you might be dating, or maybe you just swiped on, their dating profile, maybe you've just met him. You can post photos of him or screenshots of his dating profile in order to get the tea on him from other women.
I mean, what could possibly go wrong with having Yelp for human beings? Nothing problematic there. What possible danger could there be in providing people with a platform where they're encouraged to say slanderous, hateful things about people and there's no need to provide proof or evidence? But when you see an app like this, you realize that it's actually quite useful at providing a map of female psychology and what the underlying beliefs are that could enable this kind of behavior. Like conditional morality, nothing on the app requires any verification to see if it's true. It's not about objective evidence. It's about who agrees with me. You can see that quest for popularity by how the women are enhancing their status by destroying the reputations of men. We're talking some really toxic parts of femininity, but a lot of women can enhance their sense of self if they are the ones who have the power to shape how other people are seen socially. Like if I'm a woman and I say, oh, don't trust that guy, he looks shady, he looks like he's a cheater, and other women agree with me, that's a huge boost to my ego because look at the power I have. I can shape how others are seen. The app also reveals how asymmetrical women's empathy is because it's all billed as like compassion for women. We don't want them to get cheated on or taken advantage of. And yet at the same time, there's like no empathy or compassion for the men who are getting falsely accused of things on this app. The sympathy overflows for women, but it's just a desert for men.
I don't have any space in my heart for pity towards the men on this app, whether what is being said about them is true or not.
And I think the darkest part of what's been revealed is how women view men's pain and their suffering as a legitimate form of entertainment. Like as men are becoming aware of all of this slanderous, hateful gossip that's being shared about them and they're freaking out, that's amusing to some women.
Are you guys seeing all these men throw temper tantrums over the T app? These guys are calling their lawyers, wanting to know how to sue for defamation, wanting to get the app removed from the App Store, creating their own apps to get back at us.
I mean, yeah, that's probably where this is going to lead. You'll have a male app where they review women like, oh, don't trust her, she's got herpes, she's a feminist, or she's really easy. Like if this is the precedent that's been set, if we're allowed to sink to this bar, of course men are going to do the same thing. And we've entered into a world where we can post unverified reviews of people. It's a Black Mirror episode come to life. I mean, last I heard, there was a data breach or like a leak or a hack or something like that, and all of the verification images of the female users got posted online. So now you can go and search the faces of the women who are using this app. I mean, what a disaster, how low we are sinking. And usually this sort of stuff would actually make me panic because it's like, oh, society is just falling apart. Everything's getting worse. But I've noticed something strange happening for me recently is that when I read news like this, I don't care as much as I used to. I actually feel quite calm. And I don't mean like putting on like an affectation or performance, like, oh, I don't even care. Like, I mean in the privacy of my own soul, like reading about this stuff and being like, okay. And that has actually freaked me out. I noticed it first starting about 3 months ago, where my reactions were just so muted. And that actually freaked me out. Like, why don't I care as much anymore? Why aren't I panicked? What does that mean about my psyche or my morality that I just feel kind of checked out? And that's actually what I want to speak about in this video. I want to see if anybody else is feeling the same way that I am. And I've been thinking about this a lot. And so I can kind of explain, I suppose, I think where my lack of reaction is coming from. But before we get to that, let me talk to you about something that I do still care about, which is my skin. I want to be healthy and I want to look healthy. I want to look young. I want to be one of those old guys that everyone's like, whoa, you look so good for your age. But to do that, I need quality skincare products. And that's why I'm grateful to have Tiege Hanley as a sponsor of today's video. Tiege Hanley makes skincare simple. They have a complete system built around easy daily routines. Their level 1 system comes with the 4 essentials: a daily face wash to keep your skin clean, an exfoliating scrub to clear out dead skin and unclog pores, an AM moisturizer with SPF 20 to protect you during the day, and a PM moisturizer to repair your skin overnight. Each box comes with a step-by-step instruction card telling you how much of which cream to use at what time of the day. It's simple and it's effective. There's a reason why people love this product. Over 16,000 guys have left 5-star reviews. And Tiege Hanley is so confident that you'll love their product that they offer their handsome guarantee. You'll love it or you get your money back. And the best news is that because Tiege Hanley is sponsoring this video, they're offering you 40% off your first box, plus another 20% off for life if you sign up as a member, plus a free gift worth up to $20. One of the gifts is this awesome body scrubber. I use mine every single day in the shower. It's great for exfoliation. So if you're ready, just click the link below and you can start your routine today. Okay, back to the T app and my apathetic reaction. But it's not actually just the T app. It's kind of every time, one of you guys sends me an email with like another TikTok video of some woman saying like outrageously sexist, hateful things to men, I look at it and I'm like, yeah, okay. That's not normal for me. That's not how I used to be. It used to stress me. It used to disgust me. Like I read that Uber is going to start segregating their service by gender. Men as a default, as a category, are just not safe. And I read that, I'm like, all right. Or in Italy, how they've passed these new laws which classify the murder of a woman as a completely distinct and separate crime with harsher penalties. Intentionally setting out to kill a man, that's still just murder. But if you intentionally go to kill a woman, that's now femicide. And it's more serious because women's lives are worth more, I guess. I don't know. Usually I would be feeling like worried and I'd be like, okay, I've got to figure out how to help. I've got to fix this. But more recently, watching things deteriorate and just get worse and worse, I'm just not that bothered by it. But I am worried by my own lack of reaction because this is not normal for me. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm highly sensitive. That's probably not typical for a man to say that, but I'm very high in empathy and I'm extremely bothered by suffering. Like it affects me. And that has motivated me for a lot of this channel because I see all of this male suffering. I talk with you guys in consultations, I read your emails, and it's devastating, listening how men are being dehumanized or ridiculed or shamed or cheated on or abused in their relationships. I think, God, this is awful. I've got to do something. I've got to help. And so what I try and do is educate men about female psychology, about what toxic femininity and female abuse looks like. My compassion for men has been a huge driving force in this channel. But what I've also discovered is that I am also motivated by compassion for women. I want women to wake up and see how the default assumptions that they have about men in the modern era, like how sexist and dehumanizing they are. And partly that's because I want to help men. Like I want there to be good women out there available for men to date. But I also really care about women. I don't want them to suffer. And the attitudes and ideas and beliefs that they have, they're not helpful. They're not healthy. I know it might seem like what I'm mostly doing is criticizing, saying that modern feminism is toxic or that women's standards are too high, their treatment of men is unacceptable. But that's not because I want to put women down. I want to help them. I want to show them that there's a healthier mindset to be approaching life and relationships with. I want them to embrace their femininity. But I think that what I have discovered is that possibly why I'm not having such a strong reaction anymore is I've realized that that part of my motivation, it's actually just a kind of convoluted, complicated form of simping. Like, I care about women. I don't want them to suffer, but what I've been doing is almost trying to protect them from themselves. But in so doing, I've kind of been taking responsibility for them, at least inside the privacy of my own psyche. Why am I doing that? Where's that coming from? And lately, just seeing how badly things are going, just seeing women just revel and celebrate in just the worst kind of hateful sexism, it's just felt like overwhelming and hopeless. And I think that must have been what happened, is that at some point I just kind of reached my breaking point. Like, you can't care forever. At some point you burn out and you realize that you can't help somebody who doesn't want to be helped. You know, maybe it's like the fatherly instinct inside me. I have a daughter, but imagine if you've got kids who are playing next to a candle, and as the father, you're like, hey, be careful. You know, that's really hot. You're probably going to burn your hand. You say that again and again and again and again, but they keep playing with it. And you exhaust yourself. And eventually you think, okay, I can't just keep saying the same thing over and over and over again. Maybe you need to burn your hand. You know, like, if you won't listen to me and my warnings, then maybe you just need to experience the natural consequences of your own choices. You won't accept me as your teacher. Okay, well, maybe fire and pain will be your teacher. And I've realized that some people are capable of learning through compassion. You know, I can explain to them what the male experience is like, how men feel, and it will naturally awaken an innate compassion inside them. And then that empathy will teach them. But for another segment of the population, they're just not going to listen. And for that group, consequences is what's going to be their teacher. And I think that's why my emotional reactions are so much more muted, is because I've realized that there's nothing wrong with letting the natural course of events just unfold. Yes, the consequences are going to be bad and people are going to suffer, but it seems like that's what people want. They want to play out the experiment and see where it happens. And me standing on the hill saying, hey, danger, this anti-male, like, hateful, sexist approach you're taking, this is not good. This is going to leave everybody miserable. Not everyone wants to hear that. They are deeply committed to the course of action that they are taking. They want to run off that cliff. And I think that I'm just at that stage where I'm like, all right, I'm going to let them. But I'd be lying if I said that that didn't scare me. Like, it confronts a part of, like, my moral identity, like the way I think about myself, which is somebody who is not selfish. You know, I'd like to think I have honor and integrity, and I want to help out my fellow man and contribute to my community. Like, if I see a danger, then I should be doing everything I can to warn people, hey, this is not a good path to go down. We shouldn't run this experiment. And that sounds really, like, noble, but I don't know. I think it could almost be patronizing or like a form of simping, because who am I to try and protect women from the consequences of their own actions? Like, for those women who do want to improve, who do have compassion and who are listening, I'm still motivated to help those women. But for that sizable percentage of women who are just absolutely determined to continue to hate men, to perpetuate a gender war, I think I'm at the stage where I'm just going to let them see where their own choices take them, and just hands off. You know, not my issue, not my fault. None of this is my responsibility. They're on a path and they want to see where it ends. They're committed. I can see where it ends. If you start thinking that the opposite gender is the enemy, that masculinity is inherently toxic, I guarantee you're going to end up single, hateful, childless. You're going to be miserable. And this is not you a victim of anything. This is a predictable consequence of the beliefs that you chose to adopt. And on a society level, it's going to lead to a complete breakdown of trust between the two genders. And without that trust, everything is going to become increasingly transactional. You know, like, men are going to be expected to provide money, you know, throughout the relationship and even up front. But of course, we know where that's going to lead, because if that that's the expectation, that transaction, men are going to want something in return. They're going to be demanding sex, so like the OnlyFans sugar baby kind of dynamic, that's going to become the norm. None of that's good for long-term stability. Relationships are not going to last. Fewer people get married, more people get divorced. Children are going to grow up resenting their parents. And let me be clear, that's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario is that men just take control of the ship, and I think that's quite likely. They're not going to sit by passively and just watch the boat crash into rocks. No, it's not going to happen. Men have a survival instinct. They want to self-protect themselves, their community, their families. And so if this modern feminist hate men mindset is allowed to grow and fester and just start to disrupt everything and make everything worse, you may find a point where men just stand up and be like, okay, it's gone too far. Time to strip back on women's rights. Time to start policing sexuality. Right now, it's only a very small minority of men who want to do that, because they'd feel too guilty to sort of, take control in that way and just push you to the side. But the worse that women behave, the more the number of that group of men is going to expand. And let me be absolutely clear, I don't want that. I do not want to see women's rights be rolled back. I don't want to live in some authoritarian society where women's choices and their sexuality are controlled and policed. I am such a strong individualist. I so deeply believe in freedom. But that's the thing about freedom, is that you can be free to make bad choices. And to a certain degree, most of society is functional enough to be able to tolerate a few people making bad choices. But if it reaches a tipping point, at some point, there'll be enough people that say, you know what, freedom is not that important. We are going to roll back those freedoms to make sure that everything runs harmoniously for a while. That scares me. I don't want that to happen. But every year that goes on, it seems more and more likely. I hate it. I think this is just such a stupid experiment to run. The idea that women would take the grievances of the discrimination that was faced by women in past generations and then use that as a justification to enact that exact same sexist discrimination on the modern generation of men. It's so stupid, and I can tell in my voice that I do still care about this, but there's a stronger voice that says it's outside of your control. You can't stop this. The train has left the station. Look around you. Dating is turning into Yelp reviews and OnlyFans. You can't stop it. You can't fix it. These people, they don't want your help. And I think that's where the apathy kind of comes from. It's like, all right, see how it goes. Let's watch. You think treating men like the enemy is going to lead to things improving, things getting better for women? Let's see. Personally, I think the consequences are going to be disastrous for you, and you're going to end up absolutely miserable. But you know what? It's not my problem. I was trying to help you, but I probably shouldn't have been. You didn't ask for my help. The fact that I'm so sensitive and empathetic and don't like suffering, that's my fault. That's my problem to deal with. If you want to suffer, then who am I to stop you? Ultimately, it's not really going to affect me that much. I've got a partner. I've got my family. I'm good. I should just be conserving my energy for those people close to me and for anybody who does genuinely feel compassion and wants to be helped. They don't want to walk off the cliff. They don't want to burn their hand on the candle. Yeah, those people I've got infinite patience for, and I still want to help. But outside of that, you want to run this experiment, you want to see where the consequences are going to lead you, fine. Be my guest. And I think that's why when I saw the T app as it came about, I just thought, oh, okay, this is the next stage. Things are getting even worse. All right, let's see how it goes. That was the main thing that I wanted to explore in this video. And I don't feel like I adequately explored the T app because I didn't want to get sort of bogged down in it. I showed you that map before about what it reveals about female psychology, but that's not actually complete. The app and the women using it, it does reveal even more things about the way that they see the world. And you can see that here in the second chart that I've got. And that's what I'm going to spend the rest of this video talking about. I want to go through each of these 4 things and explain this part of the female psyche and how it manifested in the T app. So if that is really of interest to you, then keep watching this video. It's available on Patreon, right here on YouTube. I just post the shortened, abridged versions of my videos. I go into a lot more detail on Patreon. So if you want access to the full video, come on over to Patreon.